Hey everyone. So, in today's quick screencast, we're going to be talking all about what it means to be an expert learner because that's should be the goal for ourselves as practitioners and educators and just humans. And then also, fostering expert learners is the goal of a universally designed classroom and thinking about universally designed instruction. So, we need to know what an expert learner is. So, in talking about an expert learner, modeling an expert learner is me asking you, what is your goal? Like, why did you pick this representation? What are you hoping to get out of these next 12 to 15 minutes? And having you think for a minute why you're looking and watching this screencast. That's part of being an expert learner. So I'll pause, let you think about that, jot it down in a post-it note or in your in some form of note-taking device, and we'll pick up in 10 seconds. Or less, because it's hard to sit for that long. So, like I just said, we're designing for expert learners. So we're designing instruction not just to get content into kids' brains. That's really important, and content standards are a thing. But we're using the experience of teaching content standards to reinforce and create conditions where kids and adults and whoever it is we're teaching ultimately become really knowledgeable of themselves, knowledgeable of how they learn best, knowledgeable of how to make course corrections or set goals and strategize. That's all what it means to be an expert learner. So here's some big ideas connected to expert learning and universal design for learning. The first idea is that expert learners are purposeful and motivated, meaning they understand there are purposes and reasons for doing things, and they're motivated. They're internally motivated or intrinsically motivated. They want to do or learn things for their goals that they have for themselves or that they've spelled out in their lives. The next idea of being an expert learner is the idea of being resourceful and knowledgeable. So it's not just that they're purposeful and motivated, like they want to accomplish things in their lives, but also they know where to go to get the needed resources and understanding and strategy and like collision of big ideas. They know where to go to get the ideas for solving and meeting their goals. So that's around the recognition standards, the representation standards. And then the last kind of connection to being an expert learner is this whole idea of being strategic and goal directed. So they want to learn about it, they know where to go to gather understanding, and then they know how to design a path. They know how to put it all together so that ultimately a goal gets met. They accomplish whatever it is that they tried to accomplish. That's what an expert learner does. And so these big ideas connect to the three big principles of UDL, the whole idea of multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of action and expression. So really quickly, these are the UDL guidelines. We're actually going to be talking about these in depth in the next few weeks, but I wanted to key you in on the space where the idea of expert learning really comes through. So down here, you have the goal is expert learners who are purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, strategic and goal directed. And then up here, we have the welcome mat. Like this is how we recruit interest, get kids, learners to have a degree of understanding as it relates to a certain subject. This is how we get kids deeper and more into that understanding band. And then this internalized section is really this section where we're now working actively to get learners from being extrinsically motivated to more intrinsically motivated and the skills related to being intrinsically motivated, which is, this stuff is hard to do. Full disclosure, it's challenging, and it creates like space where the educator has to think really critically about their design. Like we have been somewhat successful in recruiting interest, meaning like we know how to get information into kids' heads so that they can regurgitate that information. And it's oftentimes stuff that's testable or stuff that's easy to memorize or kind of rote repeat or like, think solving a math problem. But getting to here is the stuff that actually is transformative, because now we're knowing how to apply that math problem. Now we're knowing how to generalize or apply a concept learned in one book to another, to a movie, to a song. And we're starting to see how the information connects between other contexts. And so this is an area that we haven't designed for intentionally in education because we weren't asked to, because we could get by designing for just understanding or getting kids to a point where they know content. But here is, they know how to learn. They know themselves and they know how to set goals. That's all what expert learners do. And so to like unpack these big ideas, we're going to look at each of those bottom guidelines one at a time. So the first one is all around providing options for self-regulation within the providing multiple means of engagement principle. So I'm just going to read these really quick. Promote expectations and beliefs that optimize motivation, facilitate personal coping skills and strategies, and develop self-assessment and reflection. So these are the big ideas of a learner that is intrinsically motivated, meaning they are learning, or they believe that it's possible for them to learn something, right? They believe they have the capacity to do something hard, to accomplish a challenging task, to learn a new thing, to climb the mountain, right? They believe that it's possible for them to get to the top. Facilitating coping skills, like they know that it's possible for them to get to the top, and therefore they have grit, like they have determination. They can overcome obstacles, and they have strategies for how to course correct. And then this last one is they know when they're making progress. They're able to not just like be told when they're doing well, but to know themselves whether or not they're doing well. And so for me, there's a picture here. This is a GIF of a fly fishing cast. And the reason for this is like, I want you to think about, like, this is me being silly. Like I am an expert learner as it relates to fly fishing. Like, and not just fly fishing, but any sort of fishing. I can't get enough of it. It drives my wife wild. I've now created a monster with my eldest daughter where she can't get enough of it either. Like, there is all that to say, there are things in your life where you are already an expert learner. You already display all of these characteristics. It might not be something related to education at all, but there are places where we are all expert learners. We are just expert learners about the stuff that we're really interested in. And we display each of these characters as it relates to that concept. So for me, it happens to be fishing. I will do fishing all day and all night, and will forget to eat, forget to sleep sometimes, especially prior to having children. And so for me, it's a fun example. So then, we'll hold off on that. So then you have the idea of providing options for comprehension. So now, like, we want to, like, for me, I want to learn about fishing. I'm going to go like discover as much as I can about it. So here, like, I'm going to go learn about background knowledge. I'm going to supply my own background knowledge. I'm going to gather as much information as I possibly can about it. I'm going to know like patterns. I'm going to know like big ideas related to something like fly fishing in terms of casting, like the places that regardless of river, you will find fish, regardless of where you are. The big ideas and relationships related to this concept of fishing. I'm going to like visualize and try to get as much information as I can about like thinking and finding the resources that will get me what I want, which is fish, which is experiences related to fishing. Silly, I know. Probably people are like, yeah, this is getting too much into fishing, but it really is true. Like, I will discover and find anything and everything about fishing, and I will try to generalize. Like, I want to fish in a river. I want to fish in a lake. I want to fish in the ocean. I want to fish from a boat. I'm ridiculous about fishing. I promise we'll get through it quickly. So an example is like, I'll read magazines. I tie my own flies. Now that like bridged into entomology, where now I want to learn about bugs that I could never care about prior to learning how to fish. Then I'm making my own rods, which is really a thing and I'm embarrassed by. And then like I'm watching movies about fishing. My favorite movie, A River Runs Through It. And now I'm reading books about it, like fiction and nonfiction. All of this means is like, I am trying to gather as much information as I can and create as many connections as I can to fishing because I'm internally motivated. I want to learn about it. All right, last fishing thing, and this is not working. So this is oh yeah, like I forgot about this. I even draw pictures of fish. So that's embarrassing, but that's where I'm at. So the last piece here is then options for executive functioning. And so the story here before I go to the checkpoints is so I learned a lot about fishing. I love fishing, right? Representation and engagement. And so what I did was my buddy and I right after I got married. So my wife was super excited about it, and that's sarcasm. We planned this amazing fishing trip. We took all of the resources that we'd gathered from learning how to fish and learning about fly fishing, and we said we are going to design and create the most amazing fishing trip where we're going to drive out to Colorado. We're going to just live in a car for like a week and a half, and we're going to fish every body of water that we drive across. And like through a series of twisted events, we ended up getting connected to this hedge fund manager from New York City. And this is not a joke. Like this guy is wealthy upon wealthy. And somehow we were able to weasel our way onto his private ranch and fish part of the Laramie River, a tributary of the Laramie River that literally had never been fished for years and years and years. And we had the biggest and best time on this trip. So we had a goal, we course corrected depending on where we were within that goal of finding the most and best places to fish. We had the resources and we applied those resources to the different strategies related to fishing. And ultimately we had the most amazing time chasing down rainbow, brown trout, and kokanee, which is, again, my last reference to fishing, probably for the next 8 weeks. But it really is an example of we can be expert learners about anything. We are expert learners about stuff. It's just stuff that may not pertain to education. We're trying to get kids to the point where whatever it is we're teaching, there's avenues and on-ramps for them to practice being expert learners. So I'm just going to read through this really quick. Guiding appropriate goal setting, supporting planning and strategy development. So hopefully you see that in my little story where we fished the Laramie River and our goal was to fish any and every body of water we came across. We strategized around how to get to the best water. We managed information and resources. So all the stuff that we had learned, we had to apply in different areas and context. And then we monitored our progress. Like we literally kept track of every fish that we caught, the species, the size, and the place where we caught it. And we were using that as like evidence to the world who nobody else cares, including probably whoever's listening to this, that like we were meeting the goal of having the most epic fishing trip ever. So take a minute and reflect on where you are already an expert learner. Where are the places where you already feel really competent and where you would learn this stuff, or you already know about this thing or concept more than anybody else you know? That's where you're an expert learner. That's where you have like started to move from being externally motivated to internally motivated, and you would just do it regardless of whether somebody told you to. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute, let you jot that down and reflect. Or you could pause this, which is probably a better strategy, but I'll still stop talking. All right. So lastly, let's just look at expert learning one more time in terms of a visual. You have a person, and that person has a goal, something they want to accomplish, some mountain they want to climb, right? Something they want, some task they want to do. Then that person sets a path. So they say, here's my path for accomplishing and getting to this mountain and climbing to the top, right? So you know that you need these different resources in order for this path, for you to make it through. You need to have access to these bits of information or these transportation examples. And then along that path, you're going to set goals for yourself. Like think of them as benchmarks. So like, I know that once I get to this section of the path and I can see the landmarks around it, I'm making progress, right? Like I'm as simple as a map where I know that this landmark, this landmark, this landmark are all leading to the ultimate goal that I'm trying to accomplish. So for you, this semester, or not even semester, these next 8 weeks, we're going to set a goal for yourself. And this week, you're actually going to work on that, where you to think about yourself as an expert learner and as an educator, and what is like a goal or a problem that you are experiencing, right? Something you want to accomplish, something you want to fix in your field, in your area of influence. And so within each week of this course related to special education and UDL, and like I want to challenge you to try to solve that problem, try to design a solution related to special education, related to universal design for learning, um, and try to use the learning from these 8 weeks to design a solution. And so we're going to work through that. But again, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? That's the big idea around this course, and really the big idea around being an expert learner. Thanks a lot for listening to me ramble on and on about fishing. I promise I won't make a habit of it. But you all have been great sports.